This is a twin engine plane, and using the all new swivels, we now have working propellers on an aircraft. Hello, my name is Flocka, and today not only am I gonna show you how to build this beautiful twin engine plane, but I've also built a small and simple version, and I'm gonna teach you how to make both. Now we're gonna start with the larger plane, so if you want that small plane tutorial, head on over to this timestamp. To start our large twin engine plane, we're throwing down a car jack and we're going into the rustic floors. Oh yeah, and make sure you drop a like on the video because we're doing this with only free to play pieces. So with that 8x8, we're gonna slap that right on the center of the jack. We're then gonna grab our 8x4 rustic floor or two 8x2s, and you're gonna place that on one side. Now take any 6x2 wood floor and we're gonna go ahead and place 3 of these like this. This is gonna be our nose, and it's also the first thing we're gonna build up. So on both sides, we're gonna place a 6x2 like this, move the floor over one stud, place 2 more on both sides, stacking those on top of each other, and then on the top, go ahead and place 3 more. We're gonna fill this hole with 6x2 floors. And on the front, we're gonna place our swivel. Make sure it's directly center on the nose, and place the Shogun Palace palatial corner right in the center. Now you're gonna wanna go into your seating and grab the basic bench from the starter shack and place one on each side of that corner. Now I wanna grab the 12x2s. And you want to make sure that you cover up this gap with the first floor so it's hanging on by one stud. Put one over the edge of that piece as well on both sides. And then you're going to want to stack up 3 right there. On top of the third floor, you're going to move it in one, and you're going to stack 2. On that top wall, you're going to want to place 1 floor on each side. Underneath, on the inside of this like hull here, we're going to place a floor so that it covers the gap clean, flush with the end. We're gonna grab the flat light bar and point it at the floor right in the corner and nudge it up all the way to the hole. Now for this next part, I've actually got to build a floor out one and then place a thruster down, pointing my cursor at the thruster with a balloon, and then taking a thruster and pointing it at the balloon so that this goes green, and I'm going to nudge it inside the hull of the ship and place 2 of them. Feel free to go up top and adjust these right away. So this is channel 1. We'll do the same thing to the other side real quick. Thruster down, balloon on the floor, point the thruster at the balloon, and then move the thruster over. This is channel 2, and this is the front of the plane so far. Now I'm going to take an 8x2 rustic thin floor, and I'm gonna snap it at the center of this floor piece in the middle of the gap here, and our driver's seat can actually go in the middle. I put 2 studs of room between the back of the driver's seat and the end of that 8x2. I want to go ahead and show you that the propeller works. And now it's time for the body and the wings. On the back, we're going to place an 8x8 rustic floor, and then an 8x4 rustic floor, and then we're only going to add trim to the first 2 like this. Now we're gonna take an 8x8 rustic floor and we're gonna notch these up so that there's 2 studs of room in between. And then we're gonna take that same floor and 1 stud over the edge on the wings. We're gonna place these down. I wanna take a 12x2 floor, any of the wood ones that you're using. You're gonna put your cursor at the outside 8x8 and then nudge it over so that there's 1 stud of room on this floor piece right here, or so it's flush with the end of the wing. You can just snap the other one to this floor and nudge it over to where you need it. I'm gonna take an 8x4 rustic floor and place 2 down like that, and then I'm just gonna fill in that last space with an 8x2 We're gonna take our 8x2 wood floor, and over any one of these wings, we're going to notch it one stud on, and then another one hanging over by one stud, and then go underneath and make sort of a triangle shape like this. And on the back, and then towards the back, take the 6x2. I like to switch over to that Shogun Palace floor. And we're gonna hang over the edge, and we're gonna hang onto the wing by one stud like this. You can go ahead and build it down the other side as well, making the same pattern. Now on the front, we're actually gonna make this same shape. So underneath, we're going to place 2 floors like this with one underneath. On this edge right here, I'm actually gonna put some 8x2s. There should be a 1x2 gap that you can see through right here. Then, even with the top of the wing, so 1, 2, 3 floors down on the outside, we're gonna place a floor that is 2 studs towards the back, and we're gonna stack 3 of those. And then on the end, flush with the back, we're gonna put a 4x4 wood floor. Underneath those pieces we just placed, we're gonna need to add 2 more wood floors, the 6x2s, and add 1 more 4x4. Now I actually want this to sit 1 more high, and I can get it closer to those wood pieces, but I have to place the thruster down first. So I'm gonna go ahead and throw this thruster on, and then I'm gonna go back to those 6x2 floors that I was using and hang those over by one stud one more time. This time, they'll get really close to the thruster. Underneath those floors that you had to replace, we're gonna take a 4x4 rustic floor, and we're gonna nudge it until it's green, making sure that it's flush with the end. Do it to the other side. And we're gonna do this twice, so 2 of those floors. And then we're gonna take our 6x2, and we're gonna make sure that that is flush with that 4x4 we just got done placing. And we're gonna nudge these in one underneath until we've made our final shape. And this last one, if everything is correct, should hang over this 4x4 by one stud. So you should be able to place that in just like that. And then on the front of our wing, we're gonna take the controllable swivel and we're gonna place it in the center of that engine. Go and grab a palatial corner, and just like the nose, we're gonna put the palatial corner and the basic bench on to make our propeller. Once that's all done, go ahead and make sure that everything is right. So peek underneath and make sure you got your small thruster channels right. Go ahead and check the propellers, make sure that they're spinning. Now we wanna go ahead and build the same thing on the other wing. So starting with the 8x2, we're gonna hang it over the edge by one stud, snapping another floor to it, and then placing one in the middle. Underneath, we're gonna stack 2 8x2 floors, leaving a 1x2 gap right there. And then we're gonna actually place another floor underneath and snap an 8x2 next to it. And then in the middle of those floors, we're gonna place one last 8x2, making sure we're flush with the top of the wing. We're gonna move it over till it's flush with the back side of the wing, and we're gonna snap 3 of the 6x2 floors in, putting a 4x4 on the end and making sure that it's all flush. Underneath, place another 6x2, snapping a second one to it as well, and grab that 4x4 rustic floor and snap it to the end of those 6x2s, making sure that that is also flush with the back. On the back side, place your thruster, remember, covering up the hole, and on the front side, place your swivel. Let's build the propeller first, using the pillar and the bench and our Shogun 6x2s in that same exact pattern that we had over here. Taking our 4x4s, leaving a slit of room for some lights, going back to those 6x2s, making sure that all of these pieces are flush, and if everything is right, it should hang over the 8x2, allowing you to place a 6x2 right there. On the body, take your 8x2 wood floor and flush with the ends. Place it on both sides like this. I'm gonna place an 8x2 in this gap right here, also in this gap, and then I'm gonna make a nice little stair thing going on right here. On the inside, if you're careful, you should be able to squeeze a small power center. We're gonna place some storage on this, so making sure that the front of the legs are flush right there, and there's one stud of room on each side. We'll have 2 chests of storage on this thing. We'll take 12x2 wood floors on the back, and we'll actually place 2 of them like this. Taking an 8x2 and hanging it 1 stud over, taking a 6x2 and hanging it 1 stud over, and then taking a 4x4 and hanging it 1 stud over, taking a 12x2 and bringing it over the back half of the 4x4, and we're gonna add 5 more of them just like this. Now we want to take our 6x2 wood floor, and we want to point our cursor at these pieces jutting out here and moving over 1 stud like this. We're going to stack 2 of them on each side of this engine. Feel free to close in this gap. You can use an 8x2 and a 6x2. Make sure you don't forget about the gap that's here, placing a Tatooine wall beacon to cover that up on both sides. We're going to go with this mechanic light for the rear, adding some on there, as well as the tips of the wings. And then we're going to take small thrusters, and we're actually going to get them right over the inside Tatooine wall beacon light. There should be some floor to point your cursor at and a spot to sneak in a thruster. Make sure I get my wing over here. And now we want to adjust these to the appropriate channel. So this one's channel 1 and this one's channel 2. And then we'll add activated balloons. So right on the nose. In this corner, we're going to go 2 studs away. We can add some seats for your friends. And then you're going to have 1 balloon all the way over to the side and just behind the chest lock piece like this. And then there's going to be another activated balloon 1 stud away from the back. Now we're going to add regular small balloons, and these are always going to be on. So on the same ridge as this activated balloon, we're going to go 1, 2, 3 studs away from the front of that piece. We're placing 2 small balloons on the outside of the chest, wherever it lets you place it green first. The balloon should be lined up with that gray strip on the chest. And then we've got a balloon in between those activated on the back, placing 1 on each side. I'm going to make sure that all of my thrusters are on the right channels. I've already checked the ones in the hull. It's now time for our landing gear, and we're gonna put 2 frost pine floors on the front like this. Just some 6x2s will do. And then on the back, we're gonna go the other way with the floor, and 2 studs away from the back, we're gonna stack 2 of them. Make sure it looks like this, because now we're gonna add our tires, nudging those until it goes green in place, making sure that the non-steerables are in the back and that you switch the tires up before you drop, because 1 tire will be facing the wrong way. And then we're gonna take our small steerable wheels and we're gonna go all the way down till it's green in the front, but we're actually gonna move it back a stud. And now we're ready for the first test flight. So to test this out, we're just gonna activate the balloons. I went and tested the balloons out to make sure that the balloons were in a good spot, and we're actually gonna move these front ones back 1, 2, 3, 4 studs. And now when we get our lift, you'll see it lifts up in the front a little bit, but that's actually really good. That's gonna give us the most realistic takeoff. The propellers can spin while turning, flying forward. We can drop the balloons and fly like this. We can adjust altitude. And as always, you can add large balloons to make it fly higher or do whatever you want with it. So I'm actually gonna demonstrate the takeoff. And if you want to gain immediate height, you can just activate your balloons. But if you wanna take off realistically, go ahead and start driving, activate your propellers, activate your thrusters, and then your balloons. This is gonna make you gain altitude a lot slower, and it's gonna look so... Now it takes a little while, but the height that you can gain with this jet is actually pretty decent. It's useful for survival with those chests on the back, and you've also got those seats for your friends. Let me know what you think of this plane down in the comments, and smack the like button, because now we're gonna build the mini version. I'm not gonna narrate over the steps. It's pretty simple, so just sit back, relax, enjoy the music, and build yourself a propeller plane. I hope you guys found today's video helpful and fun. Take it easy, everybody. Have a great weekend, and I will see you in the next one.